So, we know that we have three major types of compounds that we've talked about so far.
Yes.
What are they?
Ionic, covalent,
Polyatomic.
Polyatomic is not a type of compound. Polyatomic is a type of ion. What's the third type of compound? Ionic, covalent. Metallic is a type of compound that we don't really need. What's the third type that we think?
tertiary.
Tertiary is a classification within it. What's the type of compound? Ionic, covalent, acidic. All right.
Good job. Good job.
So, let's start with ionic. All right. Everybody needs to get a piece of paper out. All right. What makes up an ionic compound?
Metal and non-metal.
Metal and non-metal, or it involves polyatomic ions.
Yes. Yes.
All right. What goes first in an ionic compound?
Metal.
Well, the cation, which is typically the metal. All right. It's always the metal. Goes first.
Yeah, you get cation. Cation.
All right. What else do we know about an ionic compound?
Yeah,
Anion.
anion is usually non-metal.
Okay, the anion has to be the non-metal or the polyatomic.
What's the? Is that a positive charge?
The cation is the positive charge.
Positive charge.
The non-metals are
That's fun.
I know. Say what
That's fun. Oh, they have a neutral charge. They got a neutral charge.
Okay.
But so do all compounds. Yeah.
What's most negative?
No.
No.
This is metal to non-metal. Polyatomic. 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 Polyatomic.
It must have a zero charge. Meaning. All right. So get there. Now I gotta change slide.
Beautiful.
Get there. If the total charge of the compound must be zero, my two options to get that, I can add the charges.
Yes.
If they equal zero, I get rid of charges and leave the symbols.
Both.
Get rid of them, leave the symbols. If not zero, remove plus and minus.
Yes.
swap to opposite symbol and make a subscript.
What you do with the number?
Alright. Take a second and get that. So here's what we do. I'm going to list a few out, and then we're going to walk through them. Okay?
Oh, yeah. You all realize it's recording, right?
Hi.
It's not a date.
We have one yesterday.
Yep.
I gotta listen to it.
Alright. Here we go. Alright. That's P.
It's a P.
P3, -3.
Alright. MG2 plus, CL1 minus.
Yes, yes.
Does it add up to 0?
Not at all.
No, not at all.
It adds to 1.
Adds up to 1. Compounds can't add up to any number except for 0. Doesn't matter what type of compound.
Not.
So, I get rid of the plus,
Yeah.
I get rid of the minus,
Maybe like this.
the 1's going to go over there, the 2's going to go over here. I don't write a 1 in a compound. If I write the symbol, the 1 is understood. Okay, so it's Mg, Cl2. So when I name the compound, and it's binary, binary means there's 2 elements. I name the first, which is magnesium.
Magnesium chloride.
I name the second, which is, since it's an element, it's chlorine. I take out the E, and I put on I. Okay.
How you
No
know?
stupid questions. It's fine. Okay. You only put prefixes if it's covalent. Next question.
When do you put like the 8 at the back?
Okay. Like chlorate, chlorite.
Yeah.
That's if it's polyatomic, and you read it straight off the sheet.
How do you know which prefixes are on?
Like mono, di, tri.
So you put like I and 8.
Okay. I means it comes off the periodic table.
Oh.
Anything else means it's a polyatomic ion, and you're reading it straight off the sheet. You get to use the sheet of paper on the quiz and the test. Don't lose the sheet of paper. Yeah, they're right down there. Okay. Okay, Fe2 plus, O2 minus. They cancel out. They add up to 0. Now, what do you know about Fe?
Iron.
It's iron. What do you know about iron? It's a transition metal. So I have to name its charge. It's a 2 plus. So I have to say iron 2 oxide. it's FeO. I get rid of the 2 plus. I get rid of the 2 minus. What you got, Queen?
Okay, so I was watching YouTube video yesterday on this, and the guy said that like if they didn't equal up, that I could like add another element. So like if it was like -1 and -2, then I could add the element that was -1 to make a -2.
Correct.
Okay.
That's the same thing. You add another -1 to make it a total of -2 plus a positive 2 gives you 2 -2s plus a positive 2 gives you 0. That's the same thing as what I said right there.
Okay.
It is. Just that. What you got, then?
Okay, so for every transition metal, you make a.
You have to name the charge as a Roman numeral. What you got, then? Because it said it was a +2. Because I don't name the charge of that. Because it's negative.
Oh, is this water?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Okay. Fe3 plus O2 minus.
No.
I have to move the 3 over here. The 2 over there. What do I get? Fe2O3.
Thank you.
Josh, you make a better door than a window.
Oh,
Move.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's white. That's red. It's the stripes that count.
I will. That looks horrible. Alright. Cu2 plus, PO4, 3 minus. Okay, doesn't have 0. That goes. That goes. 3 comes over here.
Oh, no, no.
2 comes over there. I need parentheses. Cu3, PO4, 2. What's the name of it?
That is. Hold on. Copper.
Copper. What's the charge?
2.
2. What's PO4?
No.
Phosphate.
Wait. Oh, wait. I'm dead. Okay. Is that all in oxygen?
PO4 is phosphate. It's on here.
Oh, what's that?
Alright. Al, 3 plus, P, 3 minus. ALP. What's its name? Okay. Not phosphorus. Phosphide. Okay. K is potassium. P is phosphorus.
It's phosphide because it came off the periodic table.
And it's phosphide because it came off the periodic table. Alright.
And also, wait, it's binary.
And it's binary. Okay. What you got?
Because there are only the one before the copper one. Where is this?
The 3 comes over here.
No, I know. I'm talking about when you wrote it out. Why isn't that 3?
Okay, because the charge of the copper is not 3. The charge of the copper is 2.
The 3 is the subscript.
The 3 is the subscript of the copper. Tells you how many you need to balance the charge. Alright, we got some.
We're just looking at something like FE2 and we can't see where it says like the charge or anything. Or
How do you know?
FEO, I mean.
Yeah.
How would we be able to, like, would we be able to tell that it's iron 2?
Yep. I'll show you how. New slide. Alright. So, how do you know the charges? Or how do you know the names if you're given the formula, right? Let's do it backwards.
Yeah, you know it all. Say that.
Alright. Here's what you do. You undo the crisscross. Okay?
So you just put VA2 minus
So, the 2
plus
comes over here.
2 plus and then O
2 plus,
H
and then OH is a 1 minus. You know that. Okay, guys, you gotta listen. If you're given the formula, you undo the crisscross. So the 2 plus comes up here. So it's Ba 2 plus, which makes sense. Barium's in the second column. OH is left by itself, which makes sense. It's a polyatomic ion. And it's a 1 minus, which that makes sense. Okay? Barium's not a transition metal. So it's barium hydroxide.
Miss Peggy,
Yes.
how do you know OH is
Because it's on the yellow sheet. It's in parentheses together.
Wait.
So when you got hydroxide, you put hydrogen in front of oxygen.
You put oxygen in front of hydrogen.
Oxygen.
I just moved out of
No, when you.
I didn't get a copy.
So when you did the word, not
Yeah.
hydrogen was in front of oxygen.
It's hydroxide. It's not hydride. It's hydroxide. All right. See you and see it. What you got?
Okay, so when you have the covalent bond with 2 nonmetals. So the one that comes first in the formula, that's like, so does it matter which one you put first, like when you're writing it out, like the name out?
Oh, I
Okay,
see.
like barium hydroxide.
Hang on a second.
So like if you have like
All right. CuCl.
that is
Yeah. Coffee good.
I think I got copper
Uh-huh.
or
What's the charge on the copper?
hold on.
Put the charge on what you know.
Positive
It's
one.
a train.
Okay. Well, but you know the charge of the chlorine, right? No. You always know the charge of chlorine because it's in a certain column.
Because it's in, it's
29.
It's a -1, and there's no subscripts, right?
Yeah.
Chlorine is not enough, yeah?
They're both -1.
I know.
1 minus.
It doesn't need to be -1.
2 minus.
1 minus.
3 minus.
Where did you come up with a 3 minus?
Because it said.
No, nitrogen is a 3 minus.
12 minus.
Oh,
Marcus, quit guessing. Okay,
no, I'm talking about copper.
what you got?
Oh.
Copper is 1 plus
I'm talking about copper.
Copper's a 1 plus in this example, and chlorine's a 1 minus, or 1 minus. see how we get that.
Give me a second.
I see.
Okay. So, what's its name? Copper what chloride? Copper 1 chloride.
Oh, because it's a transition metal.
Because it's a transition metal. Okay.
Nitrogen.
Ni is not nitrogen. It's nickel. Get your just. You don't know everything right now. Get your periodic table out, sit down and take some notes. That is sulfate. What's the charge of sulfate?
Wait, I got it. Okay, wait. Hold on.
It's -2. So since nickel doesn't have a subscript, what's its charge? +2. You can tell that because sulfate doesn't have a set of parentheses and an extra subscript. What you got, Queen?
So nickel's a transition metal.
Yes, nickel's a transition metal.
Wow.
Wow, you learned something.
Oh, no, you good work. Like I've heard that other piece of book, yeah.
I just wanted to make sure.
Guys, this isn't hard. It requires you to use the 2 pieces of paper in your hand. Use them. So it's nickel 2 sulfate.
You're balancing out the
Yes. It doesn't change just because the elements change. Okay.
You got it right.
No, it doesn't get charged. These don't get charged unless you're just writing them as ions. You're just writing ions.
Where did they get you plus?
KF.
Never mind. That's alpha one.
No. It's
Why does it not get a Roman numeral?
It's not a transition.
It's not a transition metal.
That? We do. The same.
It has a +1 charge because chloride, I guess, has a -1 charge. That's how you know. You know what it is.
Alright. Guys, ionic is not hard. It has to add to 0. The rules do not change in terms of adding to 0. You have to make it do that. What do you got, Shane?
On the transition metals,
Yes.
are there some of the transition metals that have like a set charge? Like that
Zinc
just remember?
and cadmium are always +2, and silver is always +1.
Wait, say that again?
Zinc and cadmium, Zn and Cd are always +2, and Ag is always +1. Alright? What you got, Queen?
Okay, so with transitional metals, okay, yesterday I don't know. They said that they can't be a charge of 3 and 3. So do all the transitional metals go up to 3+?
Okay, that's not totally true. Most often they use a charge of 2 or 3, but they can go up to 5, 6, or 7. So, most often they're going to use an oxidation state of 2 or 3. But they can go up to 5, 6, or 7. Like chromium can go up to 6, manganese can go up to 7, cobalt can go up to 7. So, but most often they're going to use an oxidation state of 1, 2, or 3. Alright. Moving on. Covalent.
Thanks.
What's the covalent compound?
It's two non-metals.
Two nonmetals.
Like water.
Two nonmetals. Uses prefixes always on second, not if first is only one, second gets suffix I'd.
Is
One
water
is
dihydrogen
non-
monoxide?
Two is what?
Is water dihydrogen monoxide?
It is. Three is tri. Four is tetra. Five is penta. 6 is hexa. 7 is hepta. You don't have oxidation numbers here. 8 is octa. 9 is
Nona.
nona.
Oh, it's nona, not nona?
10 is deca. You can put these prefixes on your equation sheet if you would like. Alright. So I'm going to pause for a second.
That's a one.
Alright. Here we go. Billy, this pen and I are going to have some discussion.
Do you know I do that?
Really?
That's a big number.
All right.
You want a mercury?
Now,
Does the
I forgot what
all right. So, P4O10. What would that be?
Tetraphosphorus.
Tetraphosphorus. Deca oxide.
so you don't have to use the ending.
Nope, you don't use a suffix with the first one. You get the prefix from the subscript right by the letter. All right, BF3. Boron trifluoride.
Okay, what does that mean? Actually,
So, N2.
CL going
into CL6.
Well, that was awful.
job.
Okay, carbon tetraiodide.
CI4.
I like carbon. Is that organic?
Nope.
Iodine?
Yep. Tetra is 4, right?
Yes.
Alright, so covalent. To me, covalent's the easiest.
Yeah.
Okay? It's just prefixes, right? Prefixes and suffixes. It's the easiest to name and write. It's just the easiest to do. Doesn't have as many tricks. Alright, we okay here?
Yeah.
Alright.
Six.
Alright.
7.1.
I gotta focus on
Let's see.
Oh, wait, I have a question. So yesterday, when I was doing Bible, I had but you want oxygen, and I made it sodium oxide.
That's wrong. Just sodium oxide. Because sodium is a metal, so you don't have prefix.
Okay, that makes sense.
Alright.
Must have hydrogen. Hydrogen. Real big. True tits. Tizzy tits.
Oh, actually.
The youngest and the oldest. Yeah. Because the youngest gets.
What's that say after time?
Poison.
Or, alright. So acid. They must have an H to start the formula. There's two classifications. Binary. Contains anions that end in I from the periodic table. Or the polyatomic ions CN, cyanide. Or the tertiary, aka oxyacids, that are made up from ite or 8 polyatomic ions. They end in ite or 8.
Oh.
Alright?
Peruvian.
CN, cyanide.
Peruvian.
Alright, and we'll go through it. but I need screen. All right, binary acids. They must have AQ at the end to designate as an acid. Otherwise, you can name it as a covalent compound because there's only 2 elements involved.
Like where you have to have the Roman numeral for
Just like with a transition metal ionic, you have to have a Roman numeral. If you don't have AQ, I can name it differently. The only ions involved are CN, F, Cl, S, Br, and I. So, to name it, it's hydro, then the root of the anion, then ic, acid. So if I have H2S AQ, it is hydro sulfuric acid, where HCl AQ is hydrochloric acid. Okay, what you got?
Don't H and H go together?
But if you have hydro and ic, it's binary. And you only use hydro and ic with one of these 6 options.
So, what is it when you're not using hydro, but it ends in it? Is it just
Tertiary. It's an 8, and we'll get there.
okay?
We'll get there. So yeah, everything in a binary acid compound will be a 1-to-1 ratio, except for hydrosulfuric, which will have a subscript of 2 with the hydrogen, because sulfur is a -2. Everything else is a -1 in the anion, because hydrogen is a +1, so there's not going to be a subscript on the anion side. All right. Or the tertiary acids. All right, can I flip?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's not home.
It's phone, but and then it's home.
Oh my gosh, I was like, it's not home.
Home.
No, it's not.
two phones. The price of the second time is 200.
Look it up.
The song.
Oh, yeah. You don't give up on you.
This is not.
It's always
Alright. Here we go. So, HNO2. NO2, if I look at my sheet, is nitrite. I take off the ite, I add OUS and acid.
Oh, I see S. Oh.
So this is nitrite.
nitrous.
I take off the ite, it becomes nitrous acid. Okay? H2SO3. SO3, if I look at my sheet, is sulfite. Sulfur compounds are weird. I have to put the UR back in.
Sulfurous?
So sulfuric acid.
I am so furious.
The funniest thing you said.
Okay, if I'm given the name, if I look at fluorous, I know that comes from fluorite, Fluorite. So if I look it up, it's SO2, 1 minus. I know I need an H plus to make my acid. So it's 1 plus, 1 minus. I treat it like ionic. What do I do?
Here, cut them off.
I just take them off, right? So my acid is HFO2. Alright? Over here, for 8 ions, I take off the 8, I replace it with it. NO3 is nitrate. I take out the 8, I put on it. So this is nitric acid. H2SO4. SO4 is sulfate, so it becomes,
Sulfuric acid.
well, it's just like sulfurous, it will become sulfuric.
Oh, sulfuric.
Okay? Phosphoric.
Oh.
That comes from phosphate. Which is PO4 3 minus. That's horrible. My little pen, we're almost done. And H plus adds up to -2, so I gotta swap it. H3PO4. Alright. Question. Does that feel better now?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
Yes.
Don't be right.
On the